The town of Farmington. Respecting history, planning the future.
It is 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the October 13th Town Council meeting to order. As usual, we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Brian, could you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And before we start, just to make note to everyone out there, we are wearing our mask. We will remove, when we remember, our mask when we're speaking. And just a reminder, not only are we looking at COVID starting to heat up a little bit throughout the state, but we're beginning to get into flu season. So please keep washing your hands, keep socially distant, and wear your masks when you're nearby others. With that, we are starting with a presentation and recognition. This recognition is for Jim Foote on his long tenure on the Water Pollution Control Authority, and I believe Jim is with us remotely. I will start off. I was the town council liaison on the WPCN, my first tenure on the council, and learned many things from Jim, like what fog is. That's fats, oil, and grease. Never put them in the drain. A toilet is not to be used as a garbage can. Do not flush anything down there that cannot go down easily. And also, brown water flows downhill. Very important to keep in mind when you're trying to connect new people to the sewer system. With that, I will read the proclamation for Jim. Whereas the Water Pollution Control Authority's mission is to provide regional wastewater treatment services which enhance environmentally sound community development and ensure public health through improved water quality. And whereas the Water Pollution Control Authority oversees 200 miles of sewer collection systems and 17 pump stations. And whereas whereas Jim Foote has served on the Farmington Water Pollution Control Authority as a member since 1995, and whereas Jim Foote served as chair of the Water Pollution Control Authority from 1995 to 2018 and is currently serving as vice chair, and whereas Jim Foote has served on the sewer subcommittee, whose work included updating the town of Farmington sewer ordinance and completing a cost-benefit analysis to ensure Farmington utilizes best practices in sewer assessment, and whereas Jim W. Foote, throughout his 25-year tenure, has also overseen many pivotal infrastructure projects in the town of Farmington, most notably the update of the Water Pollution Control Facility in 2019, which was completed on time and on budget. And whereas the new Water Pollution Control Facility was the largest capital project in town history at a cost of $57 million, and whereas upgrading the facility had many benefits, which include increased treatment capacity, superior energy efficiency, added reliability and redundancy, nitrogen and phosphorus removal, odor control improvements, elimination of chemicals used for disinfection, and current code and safety standards compliance. And whereas, as a result of Jim Foote's effort with the upgrade of the facility, the Water Pollution Control Facility is expected to meet the needs of our community for the next 25 years. Now, therefore, the town of Farmington hereby commends Jim Foote for his excellent work on behalf of the community, and we hereby thank him for his 25 years of selfless dedication and immeasurable contributions and commitment to the town of Farmington and its residents, and hope that he will continue to be involved in the Water Pollution Control Authority for years to come. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 13th of October, 2020, C.J. Thomas, Chair, Farmington Town Council. Thank you. Jim, are you out there? If you'd like to say any words, we'd love to hear from you. You're being unmuted now. Okay, I guess not. Jim, thank you very much, and I believe Peter Bagdigian is on the line. Is that correct also from the WPCA, who served many of those years with Jim as well? So thank you and congratulations, Jim, and a little later on, we'll hear his name once more. When we're not letting him get away quite yet, we're reappointing him to the WPCA. With that, item D, public hearing.
I think Paula will read the legal notice.
A public hearing will be held on October 13th, 2020 at 7:05 p.m. online via Zoom webinar to amend the Farmington Town Code, Chapter 51, pensions. Comments can be sent to the Town Council until 12 noon on October 13th, 2020, and are accepted via email to publiccomments@farmington-ct.org or by calling 860-673-8282 and leaving a voicemail. Please provide your name and address when emailing or calling in for a public comment. Call-in comments are limited to 5 minutes. Please call the town manager's office at 860-675-2350 with any questions. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 28th day of September 2020. Kathleen A. Blonsky, town manager.
All right, we have some technical difficulty. The TVs are not working, so we'll just use paper. But very simply, this is a very easy change to Chapter 51, our pension ordinance. It applies to the nurses that the Board of Education employs. There are 8 nurses in this group. The town of Farmington is the responsible party to negotiate the benefits of this group, not the Board of Ed. It's a little bit interesting, but we did this 2 years ago now with the unaffiliated or the unclassified staff, the custodians, the secretaries, the paras. We did this in 2018 with them. This is, like I said, a small group. There's about 1 nurse per school with a floater. Simply put, this pension change just closes the pension defined benefit plan, which is outlined in Chapter 51 as of July 1, 2020 to new employees. They will go on to a defined contribution plan, which we have been working as a town since 2011 to move employees off of. They have the same benefits as all other employees that are on the defined contribution plan with a 6% match from the town. And that is across the board with all our units that are in the DC plan. Really, why did we do this? Just to attempt to, again, continue to control the level of contribution that we make to the defined pension plan. Eventually, this plan will die a natural death. It will take many, many, many years to do that, but eventually all people will be on the DC plan, and the DB plan could close, I don't know, in the next century, I guess. But really, it brings the nursing employees in line with all the rest of the employee benefits in town. And like I said, it completes that transition. There are only 2 very small changes to the pension ordinance. There is one area where we add the word nursing employees, where it already speaks to secretarial employees of the Board of Ed. We add the term nurses to be clarified, and that it simply says that as of July 1, 2020, new employees, the plan is closed to them. So we, as you recall, last meeting approved that contract, that piece of that contract. We have a public hearing today, and then in 30 days, that pension change goes into effect. We have had some questions from other retirees. There is absolutely no change to anyone's benefits. Anybody that's retired already. This is for nursing employees in the Board of Ed only, and it's for employees going forward after this in this fiscal year. Any questions?
I think you usually ask the questions after the public.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have any public comment on this item from the public hearing?
No.
Seeing none?
And then, yes,
We have an agenda item for this.
we have an agenda item for it later on.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Moving on to item E, new items.
Closing hearing at 7:08.
Okay. Now we will go to general public comment. Do we have any public comment at all from the general public? If we do, please state your name. You'll be limited to 5 minutes. Your name and address would be appreciated.
Go ahead, Jay.
Jay, can you hear us?
I unmuted the phone too. Let's do. Jay, can you chat if you're on the phone as well?
Kat, is there anyone else that's raising their hand?
Nope, Jay's the only one. And it's not.
Is it not coming through because we having technical difficulties, or it's not coming through because we can't hear him?
Jay, if you could type in your question under the chat, we could read it out.
Yes.
We can hear you
How
now.
about now?
Yes.
Thank God. Okay. Okay. What did I do? Okay. The J. Tulin, 39 Timberline Drive. I'm speaking on behalf of the Human Relations Commission. I think I just got rid of my picture, but that's okay. So we met on September 21st. We had a very full agenda. Joe Capodefaro and I kind of talked before this meeting, and we decided that I was going to address a couple of things in public comment, and then he's going to address a couple of items in the commission update. The things what I want to talk about is one of the topics of conversation we've had right along over the last several months is the upsurge in anti-Semitism and finding a way to address that. And in August, when the Voices of Hope right here in Farmington had a meeting with Holocaust survivors, hacked with swastikas and very inappropriate anti-Semitic language, I decided to reach out to a couple of organizations, the Anti-Defamation League, the Jewish Federation of Greater Hartford, and Voices of Hope, just to find out what kind of programs they had. And I guess I should be a little embarrassed to admit that I did not realize that, or I now do realize that they offer more than just programs having to do with hate and bigotry, just anti-Semitism. And I'm going to talk about a couple of things that we considered at our meeting in September 1st. The first one is a program called Walk Against Hate. It's going on right now. I guess I didn't have a lot of information about exactly what it is, other than that it's the first time it's been in Connecticut. It's something that's been running for several years, and obviously because of the situation, it's a virtual walk. I am mentioning this even though the commission had some hesitation and did not vote to support it, but I think it's important to point out that this is, a very good program that I will not forget about, and hopefully bring it forward to the commission again. I did reach out to the Anti-Defamation League in an effort to try to get more information for the future for the commission, and invited a representative from the Anti-Defamation League to address us with more information about exactly what they do and what programs they offer at our next meeting. Sorry about this, Joe. I asked you to say this, but I'm going to say our next meeting is November 16th. The other thing I did, and this was not under the cover of the Human Relations Commission, but one of the things I did discover is a lot of communities are including their students. So I sent some information to Ellen Sayuda, who then forwarded it to Chris Loomis to possibly have the students consider participating. I did not do this as Human Relations Commission. I just did it because I thought it might be an interesting program for the kids to participate in. I'm not sure if they are or not, but I just wanted to, I also realized that it's not our purview to be, suggesting anything curriculum related or anything like that at all, but I thought it was an interesting program. Apparently Ellen did too, and Chris did too. So that's the first thing. The second thing, the program that I wanted to talk to is something called International Human Rights Day, which was initially adopted by the United Nations in 1948. It's been going, it is a presentation, and you guys will find out about this. But the plan is for us to do a presentation before you at the December 8th meeting. International Human Rights Day is December 10th, so it's convenient. And I will tell you, we haven't ironed out everything, but I will tell you that our platform is going to be honoring the women that had an integral part in developing Human Rights Day and the International Declaration of Human Rights, one of which was Eleanor Roosevelt. So I guess that gives it some credibility. And that's really basically, we do have a plan for Human Rights Day. There will be a presentation, like I said, and very excited, and hopefully at some point in time in the future, this will end up being what I envision, which would maybe be some kind of townwide event. The other thing I wanted to say was some things that we're working on, because I have formed a relationship with the Anti-Defamation League and the Jewish Federation. It turns out I know some people just from being from West Hartford that are involved in both those organizations, and they have some other things that I'm hoping to bring to the commission to consider. The Concert Against Hate on December 6th. We're working on possibly offering a series of workshops on all the isms, not just the anti-Semitism or racism or what have you. I think that might be of some value. Also, tomorrow night, the Jewish Federation is sponsoring a candidate forum of the 5th District. Candidates including Johanna Hayes. I was just on the call with her in Farmington Hears, and there was some discussion about what occurred last night, but which was horrible. But at any rate, that is being sponsored. And also on November 10th, the Jewish Federation is sponsoring a webinar entitled Talking to Your Kids About Hate. Those were the two things I wanted to talk about from that. I also will say back around a year or so ago, before everything went kaflooey with the pandemic, we had made a commitment to put together a needs assessment. Nancy Parent developed a template for a needs assessment that we will be discussing and hopefully adopting at our next meeting in November. And very excited to do that, to kind of get an idea of what people know about the Human Relations Commission, and possibly get a handle from this needs assessment on the types of things that they feel we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing, what's important to the community. And I think that will be a great thing for us. Obviously, one of my missions for this commission, and I believe this goes for all 7 of us, is to be more visible in the Farmington community. So that's my statement on behalf of the Human Relations Commission.
Thank you, Jay. I
also just want
appreciate
to take
that.
the opportunity to make a brief, separate statement as a member of Comprehensive FHS.
Jay,
I'm an
Jay,
original
can you
member
hear
of
us, Jay?
Comprehensive FHS.
Jay?
As many of you know, I've been part of that process from the very beginning. Just want to encourage you to hopefully be able to, I understand why it's on pause. I just want to make a general statement, hoping that at some point soon you'll be moving that out of pause and moving this forward. Maybe after there's a presentation, I think, coming up sometime in the future, and get this thing to referendum. It's much needed, as you all know, and I appreciate
Jay?
all your time.
Thank you, Jay. Paula, Ray, I believe we have some more comments that people had sent in.
Yes. This is from Ed Owens, 11 Mulberry Lane. Dear members of the Farmington Town Council, it's time to get the project started again. My wife and I have seen our 2 children and 3 grandchildren attend Farmington schools and graduate from Farmington High. We watch the FHS plan age and deteriorate. The time is now to replace it and build for the future. This is from Scott Lister, 8 Candlewood Lane. Good morning. I'm writing to have the new high school building committee continue. I feel we are in desperate need for a new building and that we need to continue the process. Brian Hendrickson, 165 Main Street. Dear Town Council members, as a Main Street Farmington resident for over 10 years and father of 2 boys under 5, I am extremely grateful for the Town Council and Town Manager in providing leadership and direction to improve the quality of life in the Farmington Village. As the town works to implement the Town Council approved SC plan. There is no doubt that the phasing in of all parts of the previously approved plan over time will work to realize residents' vision for improved pedestrian and traffic safety, as those areas are documented priority areas for improvement from the Town Commission community surveys. Again, thank you for working together to improve and enhance pedestrian and traffic safety in the historic Farmington Village.
Is that all, Paul?
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Just ask Kat, make sure there's no.
Okay. Any others, Kathy, with their hands up? Kat?
I don't see any other hands.
Okay. With that, we will be ending public comment. We'll move on to item G. Peter?
Peter Mastro Batista, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 5th, 2020 regular town council meeting.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item H, reading communications and written appeals.
You have two correspondence in your packet. The first one was from me to the state legislators regarding prevailing wage, just to let you know that the legislators did not take up this bill. And the second one was from a resident, and it had to do with sign regulation. And I did respond to him, and I did pass on his request to the TPZ, who does regulates our signs.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Item I, reports of committee. Yukon Health Committee, no report. 2, Land Acquisition Committee.
Nothing new to report.
3, Green Efforts Committee.
This is Chris Fagan, the Green Efforts Committee, after I guess, pandemic brought upon hiatus. We'll be meeting on Thursday, so at the next meeting I'll have more to report.
Great, thank you. Item 4, Farmington High School Building Committee.
Again, Chris Fagan, as noted and as we understand, there's presently a pause on the project, and so no update other than we'll be meeting again tomorrow. We continue to meet on a monthly basis.
Thank you. Item 5, Racial Equality Task Force. And with this, we have joining us Nancy Parent, who will be giving us an update.
Can take this off to, yeah, thank you. All right, just, I put this down, I just don't want to, I want to make sure it doesn't switch anything on the computer, but thank you. Just to give a little history from our quarterly report about our task force, on June 9th, a working group was created right here at the council, and the working group was designed to develop the charge as well as recommend members to the task force. On July 14th, the task force members and the charge was approved. We were asked to examine and create a plan to develop strategies to address racial inequalities, and part of our charge was to present back here tonight our timeline and action plan, and we will be presenting that in November. So far, we've had 5 meetings as of last week, and we're hearing from all different facets to come up with our timeline and action plan. And we've heard from everyone except for Board of Ed, which will be next week.
Nancy, maybe just give a brief on who you've met with.
Sure.
Yeah.
So far, we have met with the police, the health director, and then the town side was just last week. And they have asked to meet with the legislators as well. That will be arranged, but won't be part of the action plan.
And after each meeting, you guys are like kind of growing your metrics.
Absolutely.
Of what
it's a working document that we'll have the plan, and we'll be able to say some of the goals that we'd like to reach and what we'd like to recommend.
Right. I know you guys have been working hard, and the committee's been working hard.
Yeah, great group of people.
It is. Thank you, Nancy, and you've done a great job basically running the committee in the interim until they pick their leadership. Our original intent was at this meeting to have a full report from the committee, but because they haven't met with all of the town organizations yet, they're waiting until that time happens. So we're hoping in November to have a report from their newly elected chair.
I think you will. Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
Anything to add from our members of the questions for Nancy from anyone?
No, I think she covered it well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, we're now moving on to the Village Center Parsons property ad hoc committee. Where would we like to go for that one?
Well, our Peter or Brian or I can report.
Why don't you take a cat?
Okay. So our group has been meeting quite a bit, and in your packet, you can see that we're having a meeting this Saturday, October 17th, from 10 a.m. to 11 o'clock at St. Patrick's parking lot. And if any member of the public is interested, it's our Main Street Sidewalk Replacement Project. Please call our office to RSVP because we are, because of our new COVID rules, we're asking for an RSVP. But this is, the committee has come together, and they're now going to be going to the members of the public and to the Main Street residents. And the project scope is the west side of the sidewalk will be replaced from Route 4 to Highland Park Market. On the east side, the sidewalk will be replaced from Route 4 to the Main Gate subdivision, which includes a segment of new sidewalk, and construction is tentatively scheduled to begin in the spring and summer of 2021. The other thing I just wanted to mention, because we are proud of it, is that one of the questions is the town has received $1,850,000 in grants, and the town council has allocated an additional $150,000 for the project. Therefore, there's $2 million available for this replacement project. So we're moving along on it. Our committee, I think, has met 5 or 6 times. We've walked the site. We've come up. We had our flyer that went to all the residents, a question and answer, and people are RSVPing. And St. Patrick's Church and the Monsignor were very kind to let us have their meeting in the parking lot outside.
Great. Brian.
Excuse me, Kathy. This is Brian Connolly. Just 2 things. One, I didn't see this meeting on the calendar on the Farmington website. Can we just double check that it's there, because I want to make sure the public knows about it so they can attend?
Okay, it is on the front page, but it may not be on the calendar. Let me check that. I will
Just
do
one
that.
other thing. There's a possibility of rain. Do we have a rain plan just in case?
CJ, I'll turn that over to you.
I'm thinking an alternative.
We're hardy
day.
New Englanders. Short of lightning and thunder, if it's a mist or a light rain, I think we'll continue. We'll do what we can to continue it on, so we're not stretching it out too far. But if it becomes a bad weather event, I think
I'm all for that. I just want to make sure that people know to show up.
Very good question.
In your New England rain gear.
That's fine. Yes.
One of the things, Brian, because we're doing the RSVP, we have everyone's email, and we're letting them know that if we have to cancel, we'll send them out an email, but we are telling people that we're probably trying to have the meeting.
We will be there.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Any other questions or comments on that topic? Okay. Moving on to the chair report. First thing, foremost on everyone's mind this year is the election. The town clerk has been in the process of receiving many more absentee ballots than ever have come in. I believe we're somewhere around 7,000 now. We're having them come in a number of ways. Some are coming in through the mail. There is a drop box in front of Town Hall. They empty the drop box 2 to 3 times a day, so you can bring it in that way as well. The registrar, for all of you who went to the primary, they did a great job of preparing the voting site so you'd be as safe as possible. They cleaned surfaces after each person voted. They kept people socially distant, the 6 feet away from each other. They had a great staff helping them with all that. The registrars wanted me to reiterate again what a great job all the people helping them with the elections were. They've taken everything they learned from the primary and tried to see if there are any tweaks or improvements they can make so everyone feels safe voting in person, or again, if they prefer, via absentee. So whichever way you're voting, the most important thing to bring with you when you vote is your patience. Everyone is going through a new process here.
And a mask.
So please, and a mask, patience and a mask. So please, be patient. We're all kind of, this is all new territory. So everything they're doing, they're trying it a different way. Also, as mentioned, we're going to have our meeting on the 17th at St. Patrick Church at 10 a.m. for the sidewalk project. Hopefully shine, not rain. Also, wanted to mention, there are a large number of car break-ins that have been happening. And when I say break-ins, mostly it's unlocked cars. So the best thing you can do is lock your car. So just keep an eye on that. Also, anyone who's on any type of social media, you can see it's abuzz with bear pictures. The bears are busily fattening up for the winter. They're looking for anything they can eat. They are all over the place right now. Try and keep your bird feeders away from them, any loose food that might be accessible to them out of the way. And at the risk of stating the obvious, avoid the bears. It's not a good selfie opportunity. Also, one last thing, bulk waste pickup, October 19th to 23rd. You can visit the town website for any other details on what you can and cannot put out at bulky waste. With that, I will turn it over to the Board of Education liaison.
All right, thank you. Chris Fagan. Last meeting, September 21st, started with a few recognitions. Chris Loomis was awarded Teacher of the Year, and he is the first counselor to ever receive that award. Evan Foreman received the Staff Member of the Year. He's the Director of Audiovisual Team up at the high school. And actually made me look very good in a couple messages that went up on the Board of Education website over the years. And then the last was a recognition for Tim Harris, who is retiring. And as chair of the Board of Ed and a member of the Board of Ed for years, I'd like to just congratulate Tim, wish him well in retirement, and thank him for his countless dedication and efforts over the year to keep our schools absolutely in fantastic shape, sometimes with shoestring budgets, and Tim's entire crew. I mean, we couldn't have been more fortunate over the years to have someone like Tim Harris working for us at the Board of Ed level in terms of maintaining our schools and providing our facilities to just stay in top-notch shape for our students and families. So congratulations, Tim, and personally, thank you very much. Kathy provided an update on remote learning. Just for everybody's information, in terms of the remote learning versus in-person percentages, we're about 24% or 976 students who are remote learning. 76% or just over 3,000 are in-person learning. We're in the process right now in October of the sort of staged in-school transition, and that's underway. The key here is everything is tentative and flexible with regard to how that's going, but even as of today, Superintendent Greeter advised me that I can use her quote her saying, "So far, so good." So things are going well on the transition back to full in-person learning. Again, the Board of Ed stays on top of everything with maintaining COVID protocols, in place tracking with the Farmington Valley Health Department, Department of Public Health, and State Department of Education, communications, tracking any new cases, then communicating out to the school families. And there's an opt-out option for families who are uncomfortable having their children return to in-person learning. The only caveat there is that they stay out until the end of the semester if they want to change their opinion. They don't want families coming in and out. That'll complicate sort of the COVID protocols they have in place. There was an update as to summer maintenance and building repairs. You can go check out the minutes to see each school, but generally, district-wide, it was sort of retrofitting bubblers to hands-only condition, so to limit any contact there. Upgrades to air handling systems for improved ventilation and classroom furniture changes with regard to providing for social distance learning. Updates as to general standard-based curriculum work. Assistant Superintendent Kim Wynn announced a new committee, the Community Council for Equity and Inclusion, is being formed. Will involve stakeholder participation from each school to sort of understand unconscious bias in the schools and examine racial climate and cultures in the schools. So that's a new undertaking on behalf of the Board of Ed. Additional updates were as to the summer school programs and staffing updates. Staffing updates remain a challenge with regard to the pressures due to the pandemic. Alicia provided a budget update. It's still, hasn't been crystallized yet, and Alicia's sense is that by next month with the September budget, they'll have a better update as to a more crystallized sense of where things stand based upon the challenges presented by COVID. And then some modest calendar changes, but also another important item, which is another item for us later, but the FAFSA contract was approved. And that's it.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to Economic Development Commission.
Yes, Edward Gennaros The EDC hosted their fall business breakfast on September 22nd. The keynote speaker was Mr. John Trainer, Executive Vice President and Chief Investment Officer at People's United Bank. Mr. Trainer shared his thoughts and insights on the Connecticut economy in 2020 and beyond. Some people were able to attend in person. It was limited attendance in person, and many others attended via Zoom. And the next meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, Wednesday, October 14th at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. The Farmington Historic District Commission.
The Historic District Commission met on September 21st. There were a couple of items on the agenda, which were an expansion at 17 Tungus Street, which they took under consideration, and other business was an application for a sign frame for the First Church temporary sign, some discussion of sidewalks. There was also some discussion to hold. We're planning to hold a public hearing with the district on a study report, which is with the state for review right now for approval. And that's it. Our next meeting is going to be on November 20th at 4 o'clock.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Housing Authority. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Gary. No report for Housing Authority today. Human Relations.
Yes, Joe Capitaferro. Just a couple other things. HRC is trying to work with the residents of Westerly. They're having some issues with the crosswalk, so they're working with the Traffic Review Board and to try to remedy those issues. And the HRC is also looking to develop a close working relationship with the Board of Ed in the future.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Library Board, no report. Town Plan and Zoning Liaison.
Yes, Joe Capitaferro. There's one thing, a Metro Realty Group requested a text amendment for a change for the MORPH regulations for a minimum separation between buildings from 50 feet to 30 feet. It was voted on and approved by the commission.
Thank you, Joe. Unionville Historic.
Edward Gianeros. The Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission Study Committee submitted their preliminary study report. The preliminary report recommends 4 properties for the inclusion in Unionville's historic districts, and we're going to receive a final report towards the end of the year. And Kathy's included in our agenda packet pictures of those 4 properties.
Great, thank you. Unionville Village Improvement Association.
Edward Gianeros, nothing to report.
Thank you. WPCA.
Joe Capitaferro. Well, one thing, the Barrison Park Pump Station is just about complete, and they're hoping to get everything up and running by next week.
Great, thank you. Are there any other boards or liaisons that would like to be heard this evening? Seeing none. We will move on to the all-important report of the town manager. Kathy.
You have the written report in front of you. The quarterly report's quite lengthy, but I thought I'd just maybe summarize what a lot of our time is being spent over the last quarter. The first item would be the storm. If you remember, we did lose power here in Farmington, so that was a significant event. The second item that my staff and I have been spending quite a bit of time on is what we talked about earlier, is our Parsons Ad Hoc Committee and our sidewalk meeting. So that, as discussed earlier, we have our group meeting this Saturday. The next item that, as Nancy Parent mentioned, that I did present to the Racial Equality Task Force. Myself, Rose Ponte, went to the meeting last week, and so I thought that went well. The next item is the elections. Erica and Steve Hoffman have been spending quite a bit of time with the registrars and the town clerk working on the elections. And lastly, just to mention that COVID, that is still taking quite a bit of our time. We, as everyone has seen, there has been a little bit of an uptick. What is happening with us, with our employment issues, is that luckily we have not had too many people that have have COVID, but we have had some employees that have had close contact with people with COVID, and based on the quarantine rules, they've been out. So tracking that down and helping our health district in doing that. So COVID is taking quite a bit of time, which we've been spending over the quarter. I do want to give a shout out to our health district and Jennifer, our health director. They've really been working around the clock. They've been helping the school systems in our region and helping us with our employees. And they're a small operation, and they've really, since March, have not taken a break. So I think it's, everyone should know that. And Jennifer, we're lucky to have her. She's been really very responsive to us anytime, Sunday afternoons, Friday nights, whenever it happens, trying to be reassuring to our employees, doing our contact tracing. That's, I just wanted to kind of summarize what I've been spending my time with over the last quarter. The Unionville Historic District Commission report, Edward, you mentioned that, and it's in my report with some pictures. Bond sale, we did very well with our bond sale, and we did continue to have our AAA's Moody's credit rating. I'm going to turn it over to Joe in a moment, and he's going to just give us a financial update on both our deferment program and also our revenues. On September 30th, Chief Paul Melanson was awarded the Distinguished Chief Award. So that was a really great award for him, and it was for their career body of work and dedication to the profession. So the town of Farmington is fortunate to have Chief Melanson leading our police department, and this was an honor that was really well deserved. Edward, you had asked me about an AARP grant. It's a small grant of $4,000. We are going to be applying for that grant, and part of our goals on Town Manager Goal 15 is our Trails Enhancement Project, and this looked like a great goal. It's a quick action goal where you have to spend the money, apply quickly, and spend it quickly. And so the maximum grant is $4,000, and our project is to seek enhancement of Farmington trails, providing economic wayfinder signage and mile markers. So that's the grant that we apply for.
That's great.
Just a quick overview on the legislative special session provided by CCM, so you can see the ballots. I'm not the ballots. I'm on elections. You can see the different bills, and they were busy, and I think they're pretty self-explanatory. And I think that's it. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Kathy? Yeah, I'll just add a couple of comments. First of all, this has been an incredibly unusual quarter and year. So as Kathy was mentioning, we had a storm. We've got elections that will be done in a very unusual manner. And while all this is going on, we've got COVID. And I'll reiterate what she said. The Health District has been tremendous. This is an organization that is generally working quietly behind the scenes, and they are basically staffed to do that. So when something like an international pandemic hits, they're going full out, nonstop for the duration. So they've truly done yeoman's duty. Also, the Distinguished Chiefs Award. Great to see our Chief Paul Melanson recognized. We know what a good job he does here in town, but it's great to see that also witnessed outside of our area. And the AARP grant, Ed brought this up. We had gotten one, I think, a couple of years ago. It's money being offered up that's great to be taking advantage of it. So those are all my comments.
And
bring Joe up?
Yeah, Joe, if you want to give your update.
I'll try to do this with the mask on. If you don't understand me, I'll take it off. Basically, I was asked to report on two things. First is what the results of the deferment were. And we actually received 155 deferment applications this year. The total dollar value of the deferments was $658,515.48. Broken down, that was $583,000 for taxes, $22,000, almost $23,000 for waste collection or waste fees, and $52,000 for sewer use fees. They were also included as part of the deferment. So 155 deferments approved, $658,000 deferred. As of October 1st, we have 40 delinquencies. So of the 155, the majority did obviously pay. 40 are still delinquent. Dollar-wise, it's almost $54,000 in taxes is delinquent, $5,000 in waste fees, and about $9,500 in sewer use fees. So overall, the deferment did not have a significant impact, much to my surprise, actually, on the town's taxes. And for July, it actually worked out fairly well. Notices have gone out to the 40 delinquents, and we hopefully will be collecting those in the next 60 days or so. And of course, as of October 1, being delinquent, they do now have to pay interest on the delinquencies. The other thing I was asked to report on, I don't know if anybody, is it okay to pass these out, or is it a?
You just want to give them to me, I'll pass them through. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. We need one more, the second, or they're the same?
It should be the same. It should be a two-page document.
Yeah, next, okay.
What you have in front of you is a report, revenue report for our operating budget as of September 30th, 2020. I was asked to provide you with this report to give you an indication of where we stand with revenue for the general fund, for the operating budget as of the end of the first quarter. What you have shows basically what you've adopted in your budget on May 12th of 2020. The revised budget should be the same as the adopted budget. Then the third column shows you the year-to-date, what we've collected so far this year. Fourth column shows you what's uncollected, and then the percent collected. Just going briefly by category, the first category is obviously property taxes, our largest revenue source. And revenues did come in well, taxes did come in well in July. We were about $5,000 ahead of where we were last year at the same time. So there was no negative impact because of the pandemic or the economic situation. Delinquent taxes are doing okay, pretty much where we would be at this time of year. Interest and lien fees are actually up a little bit. And the last one is, I want to point out, the supplemental motor vehicle taxes. We budget this is taxes when you buy a car at a certain point in time in the year, you get a supplemental motor vehicle tax, and usually comes out in December, you have to pay it in January. Just a word of caution on this one. We received notice late on Friday afternoon that the state indicated that the number of registered cars, new vehicles, during that time period is down 20%. And so the Assessors Association feels that that's going to translate down to the individual towns. So we're looking at the possibility that that number, 850,000, will be 20% less, which is roughly $170,000. Again, we won't know that until December when we get the actual files from the Department of Motor Vehicles and we price them out and establish the bills. But it's one of our red flag areas. Under licenses and permits, overall, we had a very good July for building permits. We had one large permit, a $12 million renovation project, which pretty much skewed our building permit revenue. It increased it dramatically. So our building permits are way ahead at this point because of that one application. August and September were pretty much on target. Actually, August was slightly below target. But again, because we had that large building permit in July, it really helped out the revenues of the license and permit revenues. Court fines and fees, it's too early in the year. Most of that money comes in later in the year. So right now, it's not much has been collected, and we won't see much activity. Investment income, if you recall, during the budget process at the end, when we were all doing the Zoom thing, I asked the council to reduce this. Originally, when you did your proposed budget, we were up around $650,000 that we were projecting. I asked you to bring it down to $250,000, and you did so. And I unfortunately have to tell you that I probably should have gone further because the rates are very low right now. It's basically, we're talking 0.2%. Despite the fact that we have plenty of money to invest, there's just no return out there. Actually, the projection right now is that we'll be lucky if we hit $125,000 in revenue. So we're looking at a true potential shortfall. Again, unless rates dramatically increase over the next 9 months, we're looking at a potential $125,000 shortfall in that account. Grants and pilots, basically, most of them very few have come in at this point in the first quarter. The one big one from the state is the town aid roads. We did receive our 1/2 share, which came in August. There are some minor grants that came in that are actually promising in this category. Just want to point 2 of them out. One is the police grants. We normally get about a $75,000 grant for having a regional dispatch. The state readjusted the formula this year, and we're actually going to receive somewhere in the neighborhood of probably around $137,000 instead of the $75,000 for having that regional dispatch. So that's a positive grant. As you can see, we've already received $85,000 from that grant. We hope to see that not quite double by the end of the year. And the other one I'd like to point out is a new grant, and I'll be coming back to you probably in December or January once the election's over. But we've been receiving grant money from the state of Connecticut for the various elections, the primary and for the election coming up. And Erica's been very diligent about monitoring this and making sure this money comes in. What I'm going to propose to you at some point later on after the election over is that we actually increase your budget so that we could offset this revenue coming in with what the expenditures are. And I'll give you the motion to do that. We've done it in the past for other grants. It's not something new, but it's something I think it's going to be warranted. We're going to need to do. The only other grant I would point out here is we did get word late in August that the Equalized Cost Sharing Grant will have some adjustments to it. And I'm not sure, because of special ed costs, I'm not sure what that is at this point, but that is another grant that we're monitoring because we pretty much know we're not going to get the full amount that we budgeted. The charges and fees that is also doing very well. Two in particular are 2 that relate to the town clerk. Real estate conveyance tax and the town clerk fees are well above where they would normally be at this time. They're doing very well. That's the offset to low rates. You do a lot of financing, a lot of transactions. So we're seeing a lot of uptick in recording fees and also in the real estate conveyance tax. Very positive with those 2 accounts. Most of the other accounts are coming in pretty much on budget other than that. And then finally, the other one I would point out is under other revenue, there's an account called other assessments, $450,000 was budgeted. This is the money that we are supposed to get from the towns who participate in our wastewater treatment plant. We did bill them. We're going to see what happens. We haven't had any response back from any towns yet. I'm not sure where this one's going at this point, but hopefully we will get the entire $450,000 from the towns on that one. So it's a little bit up in the air, but I think we'll get close to the 450 on that one. And then finally, Westwood's contribution. Although you see zeros there, the golf course, as all golf courses, had a tremendous year this year. The pandemic, busted all records at golf courses, and we think that we actually may exceed on the Westwood's contribution. Their contribution may come in higher than it has than we have budgeted. Overall, right now, based on all the pluses and minuses, our projection is we're probably in the $100,000 to $150,000 over budget range. In other words, if everything holds true at this point, our revenue should exceed our budget amounts by about $150,000. My only caveat with that is that I told you in February that the last year budget was going to have $1 million more in revenue. It had ended up with $40,000 in revenue. So obviously, there's a lot of things that happen that are beyond our control, the pandemics, whatever, the economic meltdown. So provided nothing occurs going forward and we don't have another pandemic, another shutdown, another economic meltdown, we have a potential for about between $100,000 and $150,000 excess of revenue at this point.
CJ, if I could just maybe add, one of the things that, of course, Joe and I have been talking about, and the revenues, are stable right now, which we're very happy about. We have some milestones coming up, one of them being, we want to make sure we get our state funding, those grants, that's a big amount of money. But the other thing just to know on the expenditure side is that we are spending money. We always spend money, but we are spending money because of some things that are related to COVID, the things that are related to the election. We've had overtimes on the trails and things of that nature, which again went to the COVID, making sure our trails were safe, our riverfront was safe. So, and then lastly, that snow. We haven't gotten to snow yet. So again, we, usually we have a cushion on the revenue side. That cushion, we're a little bit, not as much, and we are spending money more so, unexpected expenses on the expenditure side. So again, stable. I think we're in good shape, but I think, just so you guys have a full picture of it.
Right. Well, we're still in the process of doing our expenditure projection at this point, so I don't have anything to really report at this point, but I will provide you with a report once I do have the projections. The problem is just the lag in paying some of the bills because most of your bills for September get paid in October, so the projection doesn't really come out until the end of October, beginning of November. But we are just an indication, as Kathy said, preliminary indications are we are running higher than normal on the expenditure side. And also, even though the bond sale was a very good sale, and we did we got a very good rate. A lot of years we have a cushion in that account, and we're not going to have a cushion this year when we cut that back in order to achieve the zero tax increase this year. So we took away any cushion that we have in that account. So you're not going to see any surplus money. You probably won't see any surplus money in the debt service this year.
Peter.
Hi, Joe. Just one question, backing up on the other assessments, the $450,000 for the sewer treatment plant. Are those fees from the towns that are using our facility?
Yes. What happens is each town has an individual contract with the town of Farmington, and which addresses how they're supposed to pay for any upgrades to the treatment plant. So what we did, and it's actually, we kind of outlined it in the quarterly reports from the manager. What we did is once we closed the project, let's back up a minute, we did the final financings for this project. We did 2 clean water fund loans totaling almost $13 million in July. Once we had those done, we were able to do the final closeout on the financials and figure out what our costs were. And then and what our debt payments are going out over the next 20 years. And then we allocated that based on the percentage of flow from each town. So versus the flow for the entire sewer plant. So every town was assigned a percentage of the cost of the upgrade, and they were billed. And what happens is they will be billed once a year over the next 20 years to help pay back the 3 clean water fund loans that are out there.
So this was all pre-done. They know these bills are coming. You just don't know what the receivable.
Yeah. Well, there's always everybody was put on notice. All the towns, and this also includes Yukon Health Center, were put on notice back in I believe it was 2013, and also again in 2016, telling them that this was out there, that this was happening, and to prepare to pay for it, that they would have to pay for it at some point. But there's always the possibility that people will contest their percentage of flow, or they may contest the costs that are included in there. You never know. I mean, you're basically handing towns large bills, and in a tightened economy. The last time we did this was 1993, and it went until 2013, and there wasn't any problems with it. There was some back and forth at the beginning. I wasn't here in '93, but based on the files that I saw, there was some correspondence indicating there was some back and forth between some of the towns questioning the costs, questioning the allocations, and there was some adjustments that took place at that time. So it may happen again this time around.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Right. Yeah, just a quick question, Joe, and just because I'm curious, were there any cost savings that we realized due to COVID over the last few months? Any at all?
No, actually, we're actually, we didn't incur a lot of money because of COVID. We have a lot of we did a lot of purchases, small purchases. You buy a case of wipes, or you buy these partitions and stuff. We submitted our FEMA bill. We were supposed to get reimbursed 75% from FEMA. We submitted our bill. FEMA basically said, we don't like what you submitted, do it again, which we're in the process of doing again for them. But I've been talking to other towns who have gotten past where we are in this process, and we're noticing that FEMA's throwing a lot of things out. They're not reimbursing for a lot of things. The next step is to go to the state. The state does have CARES money to help reimburse us also. And there's some question as to whether the state's going to follow FEMA in terms of allowable expenditures or not. But as of I think it was July, and then even further complicated, fire department expenses are even separate. They're not part of FEMA. They're part of the fire administration. So you don't bill for those. So our total expenses, non-personal expenses, as of the end of July were about $32,000. And since then, we probably added another maybe $8,000 or $9,000 to that, which we're going to again try to get reimbursement for. And we've also been noticed that as of September 15th, FEMA is not reimbursing for any more COVID-19 expenses. So anything after September 15th, you're on your own. But again, we haven't really incurred a lot of major expenses. If you compare what we've incurred from FEMA to what we incurred with the tropical storm, which I neglected to mention, the tropical storm is probably going to be 10 times what we incurred for pandemic expenses at this point.
Well, thank you for keeping on them, Joe.
They're tough.
Ed?
Yeah, thanks for your report, Joe. Very helpful. Looks like there's a couple areas of concern, but overall, we're looking pretty healthy on the revenue side. Did you say you were going to present in the future to us on the expenses, projected expenses as well?
Yes, we do. We do projections every quarter, and then initially the first 6 months of the year we do two projections, one at the end of the first quarter, one at the end of the second quarter. The month of February, we'd start doing projections on a monthly basis. And what Kathy's asked is that when I have the projections done for the first quarter, that I share them with you, especially if there's any major concerns with them. Because this year is so tight and so crazy, and because of what happened at the end of last year, the way last year ended. Like I said, in February of last year, we were sitting on, almost $2 million in surplus, and we ended up, at the end of the year with less than $500,000 because of the pandemic and the economic meltdown. So the short answer is yes. As soon as we have an expenditure side, and again, I'm only talking town. I don't do the Board of Education. They do their own. So as we figure out where we are with the town at the end of the first quarter, I'll be sharing that with Kathy, and if she likes, she probably would share it with you guys.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to get at, was the Board of Education side, and kind of getting a pulse as to how COVID is impacting their expenses. I know that's not you, but is it possible that we could get some sort of report from the board?
You could ask CJ to request a report for the school system.
As I said in my report, I think Alicia will have a more crystallized version of that next month.
Next month.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think there'll be more clarity coming out in the next month, yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I think similar to what Joe was saying with his, yeah.
Any other questions for Joe before you get away from us? Okay. Just one comment, not a question. So as Joe mentioned, the receipts and the revenues are looking somewhat positive. the expenses are still, there are a few areas of concern there. Just actually, I do have one question, Joe. The offset you were talking about from the interest earnings versus the conveyance tax and some of the refinancing things, how close are those offsets? I'm sure it has to do a lot with interest rates and whatnot, but are they fairly close, or do we generally see a positive or a negative?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question.
Our interest earnings, as that goes down substantially, I thought you were saying because interest is going down, we're bringing in more conveyance taxes through.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the point is, interest rates are really low for investment purposes, so we're not getting anything. And it's kind of like when you talk about debt. I mean, but borrowing, because interest rates are so low, you're not getting on the investment side. The positive side of that is that interest rates are so low that borrowing is good. So people are actually being more aggressive in buying houses and selling houses and things of that nature. And so because of that, you're seeing more activity, and you're seeing more revenue in the town clerk accounts, land transaction accounts. I don't think it's a one-for-one type thing. It's, part of us always is, people's comfort level in the economy. But, I know that, many of you probably, maybe some of you have also done it, but, I took out a mortgage last year, and I've gotten probably 10 phone calls in the past, 2 weeks saying, hey, refinance this, you could refinance this and save money. I mean, the rates are just down that much ridiculous, that much lower. And that's, I have a friend who's an attorney who does title searches, and he's making more money in the past 6 months than he's made in the past 10 years.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Kathy?
No, that is it.
Okay, that's all for the town manager report. Are we looking to the
Appointments, agenda item.
Peter usually accepts the manager's report,
Oh,
I think.
geez.
Yep.
I'm way off. I make a motion to accept the town manager's report.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Appointments.
Agenda item L3, and my apologies for any pronunciation, that Loon Wah be appointed to the Economic Development Commission for the balance of a 2-year term beginning immediately and ending September 30th, 2022.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item L4, my apologies again for any pronunciations, that Puneet Ramachandani be appointed to the Economic Development Commission for the balance of a 2-year term beginning immediately and ending September 30th, 2022.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item L7, I make a motion that Jim Foote be appointed to the Water Pollution Control Authority for the balance of a 5-year term beginning immediately and ending September 30th, 2025.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Okay, just a note on the appointments, we have 2 people appointed who are new appointments and also new to being involved in town. So it's nice to see new names added to the name of Jim Foote, who's been here for 25 years already. So we've got a great balance in there. Moving on to item M, old business. Seeing none. Item N, new business.
Agenda item N1, I make a motion to amend Chapter 51, Pensions of the Town of Farmington Code.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
A motion and a second, Kathy?
As you can see on the motion, just some Erica went through it in the public hearing, but we're just adding the bold of nursing, and then it's effective July 1st, 2020.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. N2.
Agenda item N2, I'm making a motion to approve or reject or take no action on the proposed contract between the Farmington Administrators and Supervisors Association, FASA, and the Board of Education.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
A motion and a second?
I think, Peter, if you know which way you want to go, I think it's easier just to do that, or,
Yeah.
Okay,
To approve
yep.
the proposed contract between the Farmington Administrators and Supervisors Association, FASA, and the Board of Education.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, do you want to?
This is the agreement that was filed with the town clerk on September 29th, 2020. As you can see, that the FASA fax, it's from 2021 to 2024. The term is again, 2021 to 2024, and there are the salary changes, 1.5% GW in step movement, 1.75 GW in step movement, 2% GW in step improvements, and they did make changes in their insurance, 24% to 24.5 to 25.5% for the employee contribution. And this is for the Farmington Administrators and Supervisors Association, the FASA, which, correct me, which I haven't been involved in it, but my understanding it's the principals. It's the principals.
Correct.
Correct, yeah, yep.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. N3.
Agenda item N3, to amend the lease agreement between the Town of Farmington and the American Tower Corporation for the tower site located at 199 Town Farm Road, per the attachment.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
As you can see, we're looking to amend the lease. We're not actually looking, they're looking to amend the lease. Joe has worked with them, and I think that this is a reasonable amendment. It still keeps our revenue coming in. We do get a signing bonus, which I thought was a great idea, if you have done that. And again, if you can see, if you actually look back at the piece that Joe has given us, one of the items of revenue is our cell tower. Unfortunately, these companies have been coming through and asking to renegotiate. The market isn't as great as it once was, but I do like to mention when we do talk about this is that Farmington, way back when we started this, our position was to put these cell towers on our own town property to collect the revenue, and we've done that for 15 years or so, but that market is changing a little bit, and so we are renegotiating some of these leases, but I think, as you can see in our revenue, I think it's about $150,000 a year tower space rentals that we've been receiving, so I would recommend approving this.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? And just to reiterate what Kathy had mentioned, basically, this is money that we have been collecting for a number of years at no cost to us. Because things have changed, the companies have been seeking to renegotiate, but that doesn't cost us anything to renegotiate. So it seems like a positive all around. With no other discussion, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Agenda item N4, to approve the attached certified resolutions per the September 8th, 2020 Town Council meeting.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
We approved this at the last meeting, but we had made an error on it, so we had to approve it again. And this is, again, my understanding, Kat, this is to collect our grant money for the affordable housing grant?
These are two grants. One is the affordable housing grant, the second is one of those grants for the sidewalk project on Main Street.
That's right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. N5.
Agenda item N5, the motion to cancel the October 27th, 2020 Town Council meeting.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
We have a motion and a second. I'm sure there's going to be hotly debated items here. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item N6, I make the motion to approve the following property tax refunds as listed below in front of you.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Executive session, we have none. Before we move on to item P, I would like to leave you with a quote this evening from the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You can disagree without being disagreeable. With that, I'll ask for item P.
I make a motion that we adjourn the October 13th, 2020 Town Council meeting.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. We are adjourned.